talk about an audiogram. We're going to look at Mari's audiogram. I'm going to do a short overview of what an audiogram is, so that you can read it at home. I'm going to talk about the ear and the parts of the ear, and then we're going to look at some sounds that Mari can hear with his hearing aid and then without, and then we'll look at the different options for modes of communication that you might choose for him. The first thing we're going to look at is the ear. The ear has three parts: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. The outer ear consists of the pinna and the ear canal. The middle ear consists of the eardrum and the three smallest bones in the human body. And the inner ear consists of the cochlea and the auditory nerve. The pinna in the outer ear, which is also called the auricle, is the visible part of the outer ear. It collects sound waves and funnels them into the ear canal. From there, the sounds travel to the eardrum. The eardrum, also called the tympanic membrane, is a thin membrane that vibrates when sound reaches it. Those vibrations are passed to the hammer, to the anvil, and then to the stirrup. The stirrup is the very smallest bone in the human body. These vibrations are then passed to the cochlea. The cochlea is snail-shaped, and it's filled with fluid in the inner ear. It's lined with cilia, which are nerve cells that look like little tiny hairs. If the cochlea were to be unrolled, the cilia would be like a piano keyboard with the highest frequency sounds at the base to the lowest frequencies at the apex. When sound vibrations are passed through the middle ear into the cochlea, the cilia move, which causes the nerve impulses to form, and those nerves then carry electrochemical signals from the cochlea to the brain. There are parts of the ear that are not involved in hearing and listening. The semicircular canals, which are right in here. If you look really closely, you can see those. Those are also fluid-filled tubes that attach the cochlea to the inner ear. They help maintain our sense of balance. And then there's also the eustachian tube, which is right here, and that connects the middle ear to the back of your nose. It also equalizes the pressure between your middle ear and your outer ear. So for example, when you're going in an elevator or into high altitude, when you hear that pop, that's the pressure in your middle ear being equalized. So next, we're going to look at, first I'm just going to tell you what an audiogram is, and then we'll look at Mari's. So here's an example, or here is his audiogram. An audiogram is a chart in which the audiologist records the results of the hearing test. The left side of the chart measures the loudness in decibels. The top is the quietest sounds, and the bottom is the loudest. The top of the chart measures the frequency of the sound in hertz from lowest frequency to highest frequency, just like a keyboard again. The information below the marks made by the audiologist are the sounds that the child can hear. The sounds above the marks are the sounds the child cannot hear. The X's are for the left ear and the O's are for the right ear, and there's a little audiogram key on here that helps you a little bit more. The arrows at the top are what Mari can hear with his hearing aid, and then the points on the bottom are what he can hear without his audiogram, without his hearing aid. I took these points and I plotted them on a familiar sounds chart, which is really helpful when looking at the audiogram, because it's hard to tell what the decibels these different sounds make. So when he does have his aided technology, so his hearing aid, he is able to hear all of the things below. So for example, he can hear the Ling 6 sounds, which are oo, e, ah, sh, and s. But when he's unaided, so when he does not have his hearing aid, he is not able to. He can only hear these sounds below. He also, with his hearing aid, is able to hear all these different consonants and vowels that you see under here. He's able to hear, for example, the ticking of a watch. He's able to hear dog barking, babies crying, and then of course he can hear everything at the bottom, the piano, the telephone ring, the helicopter, the airplane. But more importantly for school, unaided, so without Mari's hearing aid, he cannot hear the phoneme S. But with aided technology, he is able to hear the word S. He also, without technology, as we talked about, without technology, he cannot hear the Ling 6 sounds, but with it, he can. He's also substituting lower frequency sounds for higher when he's using his hearing aid. He is doing that as well, but more so without, which means that he confuses b for f, but that's something that we're continue to work on. Without his technology, he is unable to discriminate between contrasting words or conversational tone, which would be tricky to be in a spoken language classroom if you made a choice not to use technology, because in a spoken language classroom it's really important that you can differentiate and contrast between those words. So with his technology, as you can see, he is very successful with his sound and with discrimination. He's able to discriminate all these different sounds. He's able to hear the Ling 6 sounds. He is successful in following directions. He's able to follow a conversation about a familiar topic within the classroom. He's doing really well. He's successfully learning his sight words. He's made progress in listening and writing his phonemic sounds that he hears, as well as learning new information within our classroom. Although you have already chosen Mari's mode of communication in the way that he's going to be educated within the classroom, I did want to just show you a chart of the different communication options. It's just a little reference chart, and you can take this home with you too. I will give you all these things to take home so that you can look at them and let me know if you have questions. I just wanted to briefly just give you a brief definition of, there's 6 different modes of communication. The first one is using American Sign Language as the first language, and then English as the second language. It's a manual language that is distinct from spoken English and is not based on grammar or syntax. It's extensively used within and among the deaf community, and then English is taught as the second language. There's also the auditory verbal unisensory, which is a program that emphasizes auditory skills. Teaches a child to develop listening skills through one-on-one therapy that focuses attention on the use of remaining hearing loss. So although that is similar to what we're doing, it's not one-on-one therapy. He's in the classroom with other students. Another mode of communication, or another communication option, would be cued speech, which is a visual communication system that has 8 different hand shapes that represent different sounds of speech. These cues are used while talking to make the spoken language clear through vision as well as verbally. It allows the child to distinguish sounds that look the same on the lips. The next one is the oral auditory oral program that teaches a child to make maximum use of his or her remaining hearing loss through amplification, which this is the mode of communication that you have chosen. It stresses the use of speech reading to aid the child's communication. The use of any form of manual communication, sign language, is not encouraged, although natural gestures may be supported. And I don't think you guys use sign language at home. But of course, if that's something that you wanted to introduce, or, for simple words, we'd be happy to support you or give you resources for that. And then the last one is total communication, which is a philosophy of using every and all means of communication with the deaf children. The child is exposed to sign language, finger spelling, natural gestures, speech reading, body language, oral speech, and reading. So it's basically using all of these types of communication. Total communication is all of them together. If you have any questions or anything after you've looked at all this information, feel free to email me or call me. Thanks.